is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
Dropped on YouTube, and it instantly became the #1 most downvoted trailer in the history of the platform. That might be a humbling experience.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
The box office flop, Snow White, lost hundreds of millions of dollars for Disney. She decides to rage post, behind every strong woman is herself.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You folks.
She's cheering at the sight of her own name. Gentlemen, this is what theaters look like across the world, and it just keeps getting worse. The memes.
Rachel Zegler has officially disappeared. Just days after Disney reportedly demands financial compensation for the massive Snow White flop, Zegler has gone completely off the radar. No interviews, no social media, just vanished. But here's the twist. Sources claim she's fled to Dubai, igniting wild rumors. Is she running from the media, dodging a potential lawsuit? Or is this a calculated escape from the might of Disney? This story is spiraling, and we're breaking it all down right now.
What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be. I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
The story of Rachel Zegler's sudden disappearance begins at a time when she should have been basking in the glory of her success. The Disney live-action remake of Snow White was meant to be her big break.
Rachel Zegler thinking, oh, that 1937 movie, that's just, oh, it's tacky, it's weird, we're gonna change. Rachel Zegler thinking,
a role that would solidify her place in Hollywood. But instead, what followed was a media storm so intense that it seemed to push the 22-year-old starlet into hiding. What began as an exciting moment in her career quickly became a PR nightmare.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her.
Oh my God.
And I can only hope
What does that mean?
that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line.
Zegler, relative newcomer to the Hollywood scene, had already made waves with her standout performance in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, a role that earned her accolades and a growing fan base. However, with the release of Snow White, things began to unravel. The film itself was met with mixed reviews, but the real storm began brewing around Zegler's comments during the press tour. In a series of interviews, she made candid remarks about the original 1937 animated classic, calling it weird and outdated, which didn't sit well with the die-hard Disney fans who revered the original Snow White. She also criticized the portrayal of the prince character in the classic, claiming it was problematic, which led to further backlash from audiences who felt that Zegler was taking aim at a beloved part of Disney's legacy. But it wasn't just the film's reception that created waves. It was Zegler's tone, her demeanor during interviews, and how she handled the media. While many actors go through a press cycle with a bit of caution, Zegler appeared refreshingly honest, but that very honesty came across as insensitive to a massive group of Disney's core fan base. And from there, it all spiraled. The hashtag had boycott Snow White gained traction on Twitter, leading to trending discussions about the film's modernized version and Zegler's role in it.
That Rachel Zegler has posted. Decided to film herself in a theater totally empty, giggling, tee-hee-heeing with total glee. Look at this. Look at this face.
So, when the film bombed at the box office and the reviews turned sour, Zegler was caught right in the center of the firestorm. But rather than responding in real time to calm the waters, she disappeared. She vanished from social media for a while, with her accounts going silent. And more shockingly, she skipped out on several major post-release promotional events, including award shows and fan interactions. Then came the rumors. Some sources claimed that Zegler had tried to weather the storm, but had eventually made the decision to retreat completely, perhaps realizing that she'd stepped into a hornet's nest that she wasn't prepared for. According to close industry insiders, Zegler was seen boarding a flight to Dubai just days after the Snow White flop, which further fueled speculations. Why Dubai? It's been suggested that she might be taking time away from the chaotic media circus.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
Hold on.
All right. Congratulations.
Using the trip as a way to distance herself from the situation, both physically and emotionally. But why Dubai? The location choice felt peculiar. Was it simply to escape the US media landscape, or was there more to this sudden getaway? While Zegler's disappearance from public life after the backlash was notable, what made the situation more eerie was the lack of official statement. No apology, no explanation, and no clear indication of when, or even if, she'd reappear in the public eye. As the media and her fans speculated on her whereabouts, one thing became clear. Rachel Zegler had gone off the radar, leaving everyone wondering if it was a temporary retreat or the start of a much deeper mystery. Now, let's dive into the burning question. Is Rachel Zegler hiding, or is she simply laying low? At face value, it seems as though Zegler is intentionally stepping out of the limelight. After all, when you're facing intense backlash for not just the failure of the film, but also for some controversial remarks, it's natural for any public figure to want to take a break. But is that all there is to this disappearance, or is there something darker at play here? On one hand, you could argue that Zegler is simply laying low after a disastrous press tour. When a star like Zegler speaks out against the very foundation of a beloved Disney classic, it's bound to spark controversy. In fact, she wasn't just voicing concerns about the Snow White remake, but also about the very culture that has built Disney into what it is today. By criticizing the dated aspects of the original film, Zegler seemed to challenge the status quo, and in doing so, perhaps made herself a target for Disney's most loyal audience. Her outspokenness, particularly about the iconic Prince character and the fairy tale's outdated themes, drew the ire of fans who saw her comments as disrespectful or even ungrateful. When the film's box office numbers came in lower than expected, it only compounded the problem. The backlash wasn't just against the film itself, it was now tied to Zegler personally. And so, instead of facing the media head-on and continuing to push her side of the story, Zegler made the bold decision to step back entirely. She didn't fight the controversy or try to reclaim her narrative. Instead, she pulled away, which only seemed to fuel speculation. On the other hand, there's a growing theory that Zegler isn't just laying low because of the press fallout. Could she be hiding? If there's one thing we know about the entertainment industry, it's that damage control is serious business. And sometimes, a retreat isn't just about avoiding negative press. It's about preparing for something even bigger. Insiders have hinted that Zegler's silence could be more than just a PR tactic. Some suggest that the situation might be much more complex, especially considering Disney's financial interests. Disney, known for its massive reach and strict contractual obligations, could very well be involved in a legal battle. There are whispers that Disney is considering invoking morality clauses in Zegler's contract, terms that would allow the studio to take action if an actor's behavior significantly damages the company's image. Zegler's controversial remarks and the subsequent box office flop of Snow White could be seen as a breach of those clauses. So, is she hiding because there's a bigger storm brewing behind the scenes?
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Is this not just a retreat from public life, but a careful strategy to avoid legal consequences? Could Disney have something in store for her, potentially going after her for damages or financial restitution? The idea that Zegler may be on the defensive, preparing for the worst, adds a layer of intrigue to her sudden disappearance. Ultimately, whether Zegler is hiding or just laying low, one thing is certain. She's gone silent in a time when most stars would be scrambling to fix their public image. This is a calculated silence that speaks volumes, and only time will tell what's really behind it. Will she reemerge to make amends, or will this silence continue to deepen, fueling further speculation? After the social media fury reached its peak, Zegler did what any celebrity in hot water might do. She issued an apology. But instead of quelling the storm, the apology only made things worse. Her statement was swift and carefully worded, but something about it felt off. The tone was oddly formal, almost like it was written by a public relations team rather than Zegler herself. Fans immediately picked up on the robotic, corporate feel of the apology, with many questioning if Disney had penned it for her. There was no real emotional depth or acknowledgement of her specific comments that had caused such a backlash. Instead, it seemed like a blanket statement designed to pacify the public, and it didn't work. What was supposed to be an olive branch only deepened the divide. Supporters of Zegler felt it was a forced apology, while critics claimed it was an example of corporate damage control. Either way, it felt like Zegler was distancing herself even more from her fans and making things much worse. This attempt at damage control failed to resonate with her audience, and now the questions loom larger than ever. What went wrong? Before Snow White, Rachel Zegler was poised to be one of Hollywood's next big stars. After a breakout role in West Side Story, she was signed to major projects, including the highly anticipated Disney live-action remake. Her talent and charm seemed undeniable. But now, after the Snow White disaster, is her career in jeopardy? The financial failure of Snow White is one thing, but Zegler's controversial statements and her inability to recover from the backlash have led many to question if her time in the spotlight has come to an end. There have been reports suggesting that Hollywood executives are now hesitant to cast her, wary of the PR nightmare she could bring to any project. Her sudden disappearance only adds fuel to the fire, with fans and critics alike speculating whether her career is permanently damaged. Will she ever make a comeback? Or has she already been written off as a cautionary tale of how Hollywood can chew up and spit out even its brightest stars? The next few months will likely tell us whether Zegler can resurrect her image, or if this is the beginning of the end. But what about Disney? They're not just sitting idly by while Snow White crumbles. The studio has reportedly been discussing legal action to recoup some of the massive losses incurred by the film's failure. That's right. Disney is apparently considering whether to take Zegler to court. How could this happen? It all comes down to morality clauses in contracts. These clauses allow studios to take action if an actor's behavior harms the studio's reputation or leads to significant financial loss. In Zegler's case, some insiders claim her comments during the press cycle contributed directly to the film's box office disaster. Could Disney sue her for damages, or at the very least, withhold bonuses and back-end payments? The studio is reportedly holding internal meetings to determine what to do next, and if legal action is on the table, it could mark a dramatic shift in Zegler's relationship with Disney. Will they go after her financially, or will they attempt to quietly move on and avoid further public drama? Only time will tell. So, what do you think? Is Rachel Zegler simply laying low after a PR disaster, or is she hiding from something bigger, like legal action from Disney? And do you think her career is truly over, or will she be able to bounce back? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay updated on the latest celebrity controversies, Hollywood scandals, and entertainment news, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. You won't want to miss what happens next in this saga. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.